Hello and welcome to the Let It Ride podcast, coming at you off of an insane Duke-UConn game that I just attended, just got back from one of the craziest games I have ever seen. Certainly the craziest game that I have ever been in attendance for. UConn with an amazing comeback win, down 19 points in the first half. They come back to beat Duke and make the Final Four. We're going to have some Final Four bets for you, but really the thing that made me want to do this podcast, being in that arena, watching that game in person, I really just felt compelled to get behind the camera and just talk about it because it was one of the most amazing comebacks that I have ever seen. Duke goes on a 14-0 run in the first half of that game, gets the lead up to 19, and a little over a minute left in the first half. They're still up 19. So you're thinking, okay, here we go, another blowout. We've had nothing but blowouts for the Elite Eight. The first three games, all won in blowout fashion. Duke up 19, like I said, about a minute to go in the first half. And UConn goes on a mini 4-0 run to cut it to 15 right before halftime. You're thinking, okay, it's still going to be Duke running away with it. Then the first 8 minutes of the second half, they're just going back and forth. The leads fluctuated between 15 and 12. And that's the crazy thing about this comeback. There wasn't that 10-0, 12-0 run that like, oh, UConn's back in the game now. They really just chipped away at the lead, and it really didn't become apparent that okay, a comeback might be happening until they cut it to 7 about halfway through the second half of that game. Then they go on a 7-0 run. They cut it to 67-65, so down by 2. Uh, it fluctuates back and forth, goes from 2 to 4. UConn never has the ball though, with a chance to tie or take the lead until just under a minute left. They hit a huge three at 70-69. You're thinking, okay, we have a game here. Duke really has to score. Cameron Boozer hits a shot. Duke goes up 3, and you're thinking, okay, at worst for Duke, this is going to overtime. And then on that last possession, they UConn has 28 seconds, and they waste about 20 seconds passing the ball around looking for a three. And you're thinking, man, what are they doing? And then Duke kind of wises up with about 10 seconds left. They commit the foul. You're like, oh man, that was a smart play by Duke. Then UConn misses that first free throw, and you're thinking, oh no, they lost their chance. They're not going to get another chance to tie this game. They should have taken a three when they had the chance. Then the guy makes the second one. You're thinking, here comes the foul. Here comes the foul. UConn doesn't foul. Duke keeps passing the ball around. Then you see that turnover and the midcourt heave to win that game. And about 70% of the crowd was Duke fans. And hearing 70% of the crowd just in a stunned silence while the other 30 goes nuts, it was kind of like being in attendance in a game where the home team blows a huge lead and you just hear the road fans going crazy while the home fans are just sulking towards the exit. That's kind of what happened. By the time UConn was cutting the nets down, the arena was almost empty. But one of the most insane games I have ever seen. Definitely, like I said, the most insane game I have ever been at. Just wanted to touch on it a little bit, get in front of the mic and talk about it because, man, oh man, that game was absolutely wild. But that does set up a great Final Four. We're going to start with the marquee matchup. It is Arizona taking on Michigan. Michigan now a 1.5 point favorite in that game. Arizona actually opened as a 1.5 point favorite, so Sharps quickly jumped on that. It's now bet the other way to Michigan -1.5. These are the two best teams in college basketball. They are number 1 and number 2 in KenPom. In fact, if Duke had held on in that last game, we would have had the top 4 teams in KenPom in the Final Four. So, KenPom getting it right this year. Not only are they the top 2 teams in KenPom, they are the top 2 defensive teams in the nation, ranking number 1 and number 2 in defensive rating. Now, that is the reason my best bet for this game is going to be the under 157.5. I just think this total is set way too high for two teams that play really good defense. I know these are two really good offensive teams as well, but both teams play great defense. They're going to have a week to prepare for each other. They're going to be playing in a neutral site. You see these Final Four venues, a lot of times the shooting is off a little bit. So I think the under 157.5 is a good play here. Like I said, the two best defensive ratings in the nation. And just to pick a winner for the game, I'm going to take Arizona in this game just because I like guard play. Michigan gets it done with their bigs, with their forwards. Arizona really gets it done with their guards, with Burries, with Bradley. I like their guards a little bit better in the NCAA tournament. I'm just a sucker for guards. So, twist my arm, make me pick a winner here. I'm going to take Arizona, but under 157.5 is my best bet for this game. That takes us on to Illinois taking on UConn. UConn, a 3.5 point underdog. The over-under sitting at 139.5. And UConn Most teams, I would be worried about a letdown after a miracle win, but not a team coached by Danny Hurley. I'm not too worried about that. But on the other side is an Illinois team that is not just the best offense in the nation, they have the best offensive rating in the history of college basketball, according to a few metrics. And on the other side, UConn can light it up as well. They showed today that they can score on a good defense like they did against Duke, putting up 74 points in that game. So I think this total is set a little bit too low. We saw these two teams match up early in the season, and the total was set at 150.5. So not seeing why this line is 11 points lower than it was when they met in the regular season. So my best bet for this one is going to be the over 139.5. UConn did win that game 74-61. That was the only game this season that the Illini have scored under 70 points. They went 6 of 29 for three. They are one of the better three-point shooting teams in the nation. So I expect some regression there. I think the Illini will put up some points. And like I said, UConn is game as well. I think they're going to put up some points. So over 139.5 is my best bet for this game. And again, twist my arm, make me pick a winner. I'm going to take the Illini. I love Danny Hurley. This is a gritty team, but I think this Illini offense is going to get the better of them in this one. You cannot make me lay those 3.5 points, though. Absolutely will not do that. I think this game will be close, but just to pick a winner, I will take the Illini. Looking at the futures board, I just wanted to point this out for anybody that wanted to bet a future right now on one of these teams to win the national championship. So right now, Arizona is posted at plus 175, Michigan plus 175, Illinois plus 400, UConn plus 550. Now, if you like Arizona, Illinois, or UConn, you should just completely ignore this futures board because you're going to get better money just betting game to game. Considering Arizona's plus 105 in their game against Michigan, you could just take the money line in that game, roll it over. If you're a minus 220 favorite in the championship game, you're going to get better than plus 175. Same thing for Illinois. They're at minus 130. You figure they'll be a plus 185 to plus 200 underdog against either Arizona or Michigan. So you're going to get better than plus 400 on that as well. Same for UConn. They're plus 110 in their matchup against Illinois. You're looking at them being probably plus 210, plus 220. So again, you get better odds just betting the first game and then rolling your initial bet plus winnings over. You're going to get better odds than plus 550. You're going to get better odds on those three teams. However, in the case of Michigan, they're sitting at plus 175. Arizona's also sitting at plus 175. So Michigan's minus 122 to beat Arizona. Arizona's plus 105 in the same game, but they had the same odds to win the championship. That means something's off. That means you're getting good odds here on Michigan. They're minus 122 to win this game. They're probably going to be upwards of a minus 200 favorite in a hypothetical championship game against either UConn or Illinois. So you're not going to get plus 175 betting them game to game. So there is value. So not a endorsement here because, like I said, I'm taking Arizona in that game. But if you like Michigan, go ahead and grab plus 175 on DraftKings right now. Usually they don't leave mistakes like this up for too long, and I'm posting this episode. I'm recording it here at 1:30 in the morning. So by the time most of you listen to this, that number might be gone. But go ahead, check it out. If that plus 175 is still there as you're listening to this, go ahead and grab it if you like Michigan. That is going to do it. Just a quick impromptu episode. Like I said, just wanted to talk about that insane game and get my picks out for the Final Four. But just to recap my best bets here, taking the under 157.5 in Arizona, Michigan, taking the over 139.5 in Illinois, UConn, and I have Illinois and Arizona meeting in the championship game, and I will take Arizona in that matchup. But that is going to do it for the podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening, and I will see you guys whenever I see you. I think maybe I'm going to do some master stuff with Kyle in a couple of weeks, but I'll see you guys next time.